Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and today I'm coming to you with the 4 books that I read in the latter half of January. So I did already have a 1-star read this early in the year, and that is The Death and Life of Zebulon Finch, Volume 1. This is a book about a boy who achieves immortality, and basically he has become an animated corpse, so he's like decaying the entire time and whatnot. And the reasons why I really did not like this book are basically, first of all, it was really boring. Second of all, the main character is unlikable in a really bad way. Like, usually when you're reading a like good unlikable character, it adds to the story that they're unlikable. Here, we literally just have a character who is so insufferable that I just hated reading about him. I hated everything he thought, everything he said. It just like, I was just like, why am I reading this? So, and this book is long as heck. I just hated it. So basically, he also at one point, the thing that really solidified it and made it a 1-star read for me was that at one point he is selling moonshine for this guy, and he's selling moonshine to the KKK. And he thinks to himself, because he happens to really hate the guy he works for, who happens to be black, and he hates him because of a like totally, you know, a reason from earlier in the book. It has nothing to do with the jobs he's doing for him. So basically he knows that racism is absolute bullshit and that it has absolutely no basis in anything, but he says in his like internal monologue about that, that were the KKK to offer him anything for information, he would turn that guy in. And I'm like, okay, I don't care how much you hate somebody, wishing a hate crime on them is pretty fucking terrible. And wow, I was like, dude, what the fuck? And then pretty soon after that, like a few chapters later, there's a part where he says, I didn't know that women had so many interesting things to say. And I'm like, wow, dude, you're a jerk. So, and then, to make matters even worse somehow, there is a part where he's having sex towards the end of the book, and his penis actually breaks off in the woman's vagina, and it's just like fucking stupid, and I fucking could not stand this book. I thought I was gonna love it, and boy am I disappointed. The Dead Cattail Assassins, which comes out on August 6th from Tor.com. It's by P. Jelly Clark, and this is an e-arc that I got from NetGalley about a girl who is a dead cattail assassin, which basically means that she's an undead assassin. And as an undead assassin in this world, she does not have any memories from before she was her death and resurrection took place. One day she's just, you know, going about her life doing a job, and the person that she's supposed to kill has her face, and she remembers that that's her. So basically someone has brought her from her past forward for her to kill. It was a really good book. It was really gripping the whole way through. I kept wanting to find out more and all of that, and it was really action-packed. It was really creative, but unfortunately, I feel like maybe this is partly due to the length, because this is only like a 200-page book. There were some things that just didn't quite work, and mainly it has to do with just the fact that time travel type of stuff is not normal in this world, and in this world that we're only just getting to know in this story. Like, if this were like the 5th book in a series and they suddenly brought something like that in, we would go like, oh, okay, like that might work a little bit better. For this to be like one installment and to bring something not typical of that world in, and have it be the entire focus of the story, just didn't really work for me. But I did really enjoy this book. I really enjoyed reading it, and I finished it really quickly. The Dragonbone Chair by Ted Williams. This is just a pretty standard fantasy book that I don't really have much to say about this. I did listen to this on audiobook, and I do not enjoy reading books of this length on audio, only because, you know, I get my audiobooks from the library entirely, and trying to finish them before the due date can really, really suck sometimes. So the reason why I chose to read this now is because I do have the second book. But I don't have the first one. So I wanted to go ahead and get the audiobook of it read so I could read book two. But basically, this was a big inspiration for George R.R. Martin and the Song on Ice and Fire series. And you can see the similarities in there. Like, instead of an iron throne, there's a dragon bone chair. And instead, like, there are a lot of things where you can see, oh, that's the equivalent of this in Game of Thrones, all that. And but you know, overall, this book didn't really like break up the points of view as well or have as many people who are as interesting to follow or anything. It was fairly standard. It wasn't the gripping escapade that Game of Thrones is or anything like that. But yeah, we'll see how I feel when I read the second book. And finally, I Miss You, I Hate This by Sarah Saidi. This is a book about two teenage girls who, when the pandemic starts, they basically don't get to see each other and they're best friends and all of that. So it's about them each like dealing with having to not be able to go to school, having to be like stuck at home with their families, not being able to see each other. And so what's interesting about it is that, you know, the two main characters are, you know, they're different races and different income levels, and their families just really don't like each other and don't really approve of their friendship. They're always like, why do you keep hanging out with her? Maybe you should consider not, and all of that. And neither of them really want to hear that from their families because that's kind of mean. There are multiple subplots in it that really make you, you know, want to find out what happens and all of that and what's going on. But what really didn't work for me is that the virus that happens in this book, so it's basically telling the story of the beginning of COVID and how it started out, like how the pandemic kind of took shape and all of that. But the thing is that the virus is not COVID, it is the edema virus, and its symptoms are different, and the group who is the most susceptible to it and who dies the most from it are teenagers, which didn't really make sense to me because there's no real reason given at all for why that is. And that just doesn't make sense because we all know why the people most susceptible to COVID are the most susceptible. Like, it's pretty obvious. But here it comes up time and time again that teenagers are the most susceptible. So like their families are like the ones doing the grocery shopping, like they don't want to send their teenagers out anywhere, like because they're the most susceptible to it, blah blah blah. Like, it's a really big part of the story, and for that to like not really make sense why that was really kind of took me out of the story. There was just a lot of suspension of disbelief there, and the thing is that, yes, we do have two major characters at least end up in the ICU due to the virus, but that still could have been the case. We all know this, that easily could have still been the case even if the teenagers were not the group that is most susceptible. So some of this just really didn't make any sense, but I did overall like the story, and it was a pretty quick read, and it did really keep me reading it. So anyway, those are the books that I read in the latter half of I almost said June, then I almost said July. January, the latter half of January. So anyway, if you've read any of these, have any thoughts on them, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!